You're kind of low, Loretta.
Low?
Yeah.
What do you mean low?
No, your voice.
Oh, my voice is.
I mean, your volume.
You're getting basso as opposed to alto.
I'm very tired because I've been trying to deal with my cell phone and getting it fixed, and now it's
No, but
been
is your
shipped
volume up
away.
as high as it can be?
Yeah, okay. Can you hear? You can hear me though, right?
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay. All right. Call to order. What? Okay.
I second it. Oh, it was my volume I had to turn up. Okay.
We had minutes from last time, but I have no idea where they are. So we'll just skip. Next time we'll just do two sets of minutes. But see, I had wanted to check in with Steve to see if he had finished off the Trumco marking and everything. So that's still up in the air. I don't know, because he was going to go back as of our last meeting. He was going to go back and finish what was left, because Pam had said there wasn't much left, but he probably didn't. I don't know. Anyway, so we'll check on that next time. I just put down the farmers market because it was an amazing year for the farmers. Every single farmer did amazingly well. And I think just about every single market, people sold more than they had the previous year. So everyone was thrilled. And the meat person, Amy, was just over the moon because she was
We got our turkey from her. It was delicious.
Yeah.
I got so much from her. I loved her stuff.
Yeah. And everyone got along. This was the first season that there were no problems at all. Everyone related well, interacted with each other, followed the rules. You know, if it was windy, take down your canopy, everybody did it, or whatever went on. It was just smooth, even though it was COVID and I didn't see anyone not wearing a mask.
Yeah, I didn't either.
And all the lines, whenever I was there, the people were standing far apart.
Yep.
So people were trying to do what we had asked them to do, which I was thrilled that it all worked out that way. So I think it was a really good year. I think it was helpful because people felt way more comfortable being outside and buying things.
Absolutely.
And also being able to see what they were buying rather than curbside, which you get what you get.
And it was good.
And it was good,
too.
yeah.
Oh,
And
fabulous.
all of the stuff was really good from my perspective anyway. And I think it was a good growing year. Julie and Todd had such variety of vegetables. It was
They had
an
an amazing variety of stuff.
It was an
all good.
amazing growing year. Just amazing.
And some of the farmers helped out with the food bank, with the grant that we had. So it was really probably the most successful year that we had had. So that was very exciting and very thrilling. And I'm assuming that most of the people that were there will be coming back. I mean, we lucked out in a sense because we had like the hot sauce person stayed the whole year because he didn't want to go over to Coventry, which was so different because Coventry was more a curbside kind of thing. You had to pre-order online. So there were several people who we think who used to go to Coventry came to us because they could see what they wanted to buy.
Was the hot sauce fellow happy with his sales too?
Yep, he was
I was
pretty
afraid
happy.
he wouldn't get enough sales in our little market, you know.
Well, I don't think he had expectations that he would do what he did in Coventry.
Well, he also goes to stores. So he was at stores on Saturday and then us on Sunday.
Oh, yeah.
So, that probably worked out better than just once Coventry.
He seemed pretty happy when I talked to him, so.
Good, I'm glad. You really had such a great variety. You could do almost all your shopping there. It was really nice.
The cheeses were very good too.
Oh, cheese is always great. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So, well, that was very exciting. I was a little concerned because in the beginning, Ralph was a little hesitant to have us do the market, and I said, no, this is essential services and everything. And after sending him all the information from the governor, he said, yeah, okay, we'll do it. So,
And then the people who did the home cooked meals, they were really good. And they always sold out, you know, on the very corner.
right.
The bakery and the home cooked meal. They always sold out their the little meals immediately.
Yeah, and they were a new participant, so
They were great.
they were happy.
Yep.
Good. And then I thought Pam was going to be here, but I don't see, because I wanted to talk a little bit about the clean up your streets just didn't work because there not only was COVID going on, but when we had scheduled it was also the election, and people were just so focused on campaigning and doing all this stuff and getting their votes in and blah, 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 and all that. So I think we have to decide what we're going to do next spring in terms of how to make that happen, because it seems like people are very eager to do their own streets. So if we set it up in a way that they can just let us know what streets they're doing. And in the spring, it's so much easier to see things. And actually, in the early spring last year, there wasn't a lot of trash as compared to the usual amount, because there wasn't as much traffic. People weren't going out then. So
Well, there is now though. The
there
traffic
is now. Yeah,
outrageous.
yeah, there's a lot now.
There's a lot out there, yeah.
And probably will continue to be during the winter and all that. People need a little something to warm up, and then they throw their little zippers out.
Or their coffee cups.
And
Did you say zippers?
zips,
Nippers.
the little zips,
Nippers, right?
zippers.
Yes.
I had read that they were going to outlaw them,
Oh, wouldn't that be nice?
but I guess they didn't really do that. And so I was in the package store, I don't know, maybe it was a month or so ago, and this guy came in and he ordered 4 cans of beer, and 6 little nips.
Yep.
I was like, he's gonna
That's
have
his ride home.
one time as his lunch. It was like around 12
By the
o'clock.
time he gets home, he's like, doesn't care
He
anymore.
was driving to Coventry.
Amazing. And did everyone get the meeting schedule for next to 2021?
Yes.
Yep.
The only change is it's always the third Monday except January and February, which are both holidays. One is President's Day, the other is Martin Luther King. So it's the third Wednesday. So other than that, it's always third Monday. So hopefully we can start getting used to it after the fourth one. I don't know what happened. But anyway, so the other thing is, since Gwen isn't here, I thought we could just talk a little bit about the zoning change that was put out on planning and zoning, and several people from conservation participated in making their statements about it. And then I don't know what happened at the end of the meeting, Janet, because I left after the public hearing was closed. Maybe
They
you can-
turfed it.
We voted against it,
Yay.
but the commission is reviewing all the regs because they're old enough that we need to review them and make changes. So at some point, we will be reviewing that section again. And at that point, it could still be changed.
Well, I think the big thing that came out of all that, I had sent a request to Jean Pillow from ECCD to sort of do a review of that area. And in doing the review, one of the things that we found out was that area in question particularly is really in the Fenton River watershed and not the Mount Hope.
Mhm.
But what that just told me is that area is even more sensitive than we thought, because it's the site of 2 watersheds, in addition to which, there's the many wetlands around, and the property in question, which is the Ashford Motel, right? That's
It surrounds it, yeah.
yeah, it's around it. It is surrounded on three sides by the state forest.
Right.
So we're really talking about a really high conservation level there. And when we're reviewing the regs for this area, I think we have to look at, what, obviously there are people in town who really want business there, and we're okay with business there, but not the kind of business that's going to be disruptive to everyone. And so I think we, as a Conservation Commission, need to be really on target. Hi, Gwen.
Hi, Gwen.
In terms of staying on top of that and making sure that we're ready to get some experts, for instance, like Jean, who is able to spell out exactly what's going on. Because earlier we had signed on to the Natchog Watershed Partnership, which is really the area towns who pledge to make sure that our waterways are as clean and pure as possible. And then the other thing about that area is that it's a cold water stream, and those streams for trouts are very, very sensitive to temperature. So that's controlled actually by DEEP, so that we have a lot of allies to use in the future when this comes up again, because I'm sure it's going to come up again. And I think it would not be pleasant to the people around Lake Chaffee. And there were a lot of people there from Lake Chaffee, particularly the second time,
Yep.
who were really concerned that their area would be affected, as they would be, because they're right downwind from that. They're not far from that exchange. So I think it's something that all of us need to be aware of, what's going on with planning and zoning, and to certainly Janet's on planning and zoning right now, but that may change at any point, and she may no longer be on conservation or whatever. So
I'm on planning and zoning for 2 more years at least.
okay, all right. So we can, we can make sure that Janet keeps us informed of this. And I mean, stuff like this is easy to sort of like slip through the cracks. And there are people. I think there's two sides on the planning and zoning, is that there's the people who really are pushing for economic development, and there are people who are pushing for Ashford to have the growth be in line with who we are as a town and what our identity is. And that's always, ever since the revival of this present Conservation Commission, I think that's always been there, of how do we balance that out and make sure that we're not just being called tree huggers and discounted, but to allow for reasonable growth that makes sense to everybody. And I was impressed with the two young people who said they moved to Ashford for certain reasons, and if this were to happen, they would consider leaving Ashford. And those aren't the kind of people you want to leave a town, and you never really want people to leave your town. I don't think people are concerned enough to come to a meeting and make statements.
Well, I was impressed with Jean Pillow's assessment and how thorough it was.
Yeah.
And she also had some recommendations for some requirements that we might be able to put into the regulations. So I was really impressed with her, how detailed that was. And also the commission also needs to pay attention to the plan of conservation and development, which clearly states that the citizens want a rural atmosphere. So
there is another ally too that we could tap. John mentioned that he was at some meeting, and the woman who runs Willimantic Waterworks, I believe, they were talking, and he said she's really neat, and she said something like we count on the people upstream who have the wetlands that the water comes from to protect the waterway. You know, so they count on us. Willimantic and all downstream counts on us to keep the water clean. So that's another ally we could tap. John couldn't remember her name, but we could probably find it.
Mm-hmm.
We might be able to get somebody from Deep as well.
Yep.
To testify. I don't know.
Gwen, do you want to tell your little trash story that you were going to? We can't hear you.
You're muted.
Muted.
You're ready for me? I must have missed a lot of the meeting. Just got home from work. Okay. Well, on my way home from work, I scout out new places to hike. And I go on back roads, and I discovered, this was about a month ago, discovered a new place on Saturday coming home to a place to hike for Sunday. So I come to the kiosk and the trailhead, and it turns out it's in Tolland. I didn't know if I was in Wellington or Tolland, where I was, but I first found it, and it's on the corner of Babcock and North River Road. And turns out it's state land, and it looks like they use it for forestry students for teaching them, because some of the trees are painted that are going to be taken down. It's a beautiful system along the Willimantic River. There's a system of trails that are unblazed and old carriage roads. I don't know, maybe abandoned town roads from hundreds of years ago. Really a cool area that I'd never seen before. So like, it was all pristine on Saturday afternoon late. And then Sunday, my husband and I go there, and this is like just maybe after lunchtime, and there's skid marks in the dirt parking lot. And next to the right of the kiosk, there's a whole, there's a dump load of stuff, like a truck dumped old couch, suitcase, and giant dog cage, and a bunches of junk, like, what do they call this? They call this illegal dumping. And it looked like somebody was trying to get away with this early Sunday morning. So we did our hike, and I called Jean Pillow that night, and I told her what I found, and I said, you know what, is there anything that I could do? And she says, yes, go to this website. This is at night, so it's too late to call somebody. Go to this website, and then for that area, go to Franklin DEEP, and there'll be contact info. There'll be all kinds of, there'll be phone numbers, emails, everything. And she was right. She led me to the right place, and as soon as I told these people, I sent it to a number of email addresses, and there was something called Environmental Justice Team, and they just did this. They just did, stopped illegal dumping. And immediately the emails are shooting back and forth, dozens of emails. Did you get a license plate? Did you get, no, it was not here this day. It was here that day. The vehicle is already gone. What town is it in? What land? Is it state land? Is it this land? And it was state land. And they're all going beyond belief to help solve this problem. And the bottom line is, within 24 hours, it's all cleaned up. They found the right person for that district, and they went out there in the middle of a pandemic and cleaned up. This was like a lot of junk. And then I went back.
Was this Deep? Gwen, was this Deep people who cleaned it up?
Deep. It's through Deep. I talked to so many different people, nice women who are this person and that is in charge of that. If it's state land, then they just had a network, and they kept asking me to narrow it down. Okay, what roads, the exact location. And then we found out it fell within Tolland district. And now if it was a different part of the state, then you wouldn't go through a different, not the Franklin DEEP, but this was the one for that spot. And they found the administrator for this region, and I don't know how they did it in 24 hours. So I worked Monday, couldn't go that day. Tuesday, I went back to hike there, and all that stuff is gone. No trace of it. And so Yeah, it's right next to the hiking kiosk. I mean, and the thing is, when cars went by, they would see that and they would think it's a place that's legal to dump, and it would have spread. So you got to nip it in the bud early.
And
And I
this was
never-
state land, right, Gwen?
Yes. You drive down there, you'll see state markers on the road, but you know, I didn't know if it like changed, but apparently that really was state land. Because I gave them all the information. They would ask me questions back and forth, back and forth. They jumped on this immediately, and there were lots of email addresses, but they knew who was the right person. And they had, I'm not kidding, they have an environmental justice team just to address illegal dumping.
Wow.
Who would have thought that this? So I was really happily surprised. And then I wrote back to Jean and thanked her for steering me in the right direction, because you wouldn't know where to start. There's so many different people, and you know, they have this down. They're really good. That's my success story.
Well, that's great, and that's only that goes into operation if you're on state land. If you were on town land, that would not have happened. Say, for instance, if this were on Langhammer's, which is town land, then it would be a whole different scenario.
Then the Public Works Department, then we'd have to contact, you know, I thought all of that too. I was wondering, do I contact Tolland's Public Works Department? But these people knew, and they would have directed me to somewhere else if it hadn't been state land.
I don't know how they found the person, though. That's amazing.
I can show you the emails.
No, I mean how they
The name of the
found
person.
the person that did the dumping, right?
No, they didn't. They didn't.
No, I'm
Oh,
sorry.
they did.
No, never could find that out.
No.
These people must have hightailed it out. They must have had to leave their residence, and they didn't want to pay dump fees, or I don't know what their story was, but they just want to get rid of everything. And there was a lot of kids' toys and clothes, and you know, just like whatever they couldn't take with them, they were just going to take the easy way out. And they thought, oh, no one's going to notice. We'll just on state land. No, we never. It was a person who has jurisdiction for that region. So when you go to the DEEP, they know. I just couldn't believe.
So what you did is you went, let me just get you this clear. You went to the DEEP website, and then you went to the area that it's divided up. The state is divided up into areas, I assume.
No, she said
area
go to
being-
the Franklin DEEP. They're all different regions, different headquarters. This was a group for our area, and I think
Okay.
it may be like Eastern or Northeastern. I'm not even sure.
Or Wyndham County.
Oh no, this was Tolland County. I thought it was. I didn't know where it was, but we figured it out. We had it, you know, because it's my first time hiking in this area, so I really didn't even know.
Well,
But
that's great. That's great
they
that
were
you
like
did that. And
late
yes,
into the
because
night.
I
emailing me.
remember a couple years ago when we were cleaning up, Christine, you and your neighbor there had that pile of junk right down the road here on 44.
Yeah, on 44, right by that little pond. Yeah.
Right.
But I don't know if that's even, I think that might even be private property. Or no, it actually was probably whoever owns the road. Is that road a state road, or is that a?
I don't know if that's a
Or-
road private. I think it's more a Joshua's Trust or a Wolf Den.
No,
Yeah.
but it was so close to the road, it would have been on the road
Oh,
land. So whatever 44
Oh,
is.
okay.
that's
That's
a
the state road.
that's a state. That's a state.
Right, because it was within, you know, that road boundary kind of thing.
Yeah, and that's good that both of these things were cleaned up, because it's true. Once there's a little bit there, it seems to multiply fairly quickly. People sort of think, oh, well, this is a good place to dump it. Although I don't, that's pretty wide open there where that dump was on 44.
Oh, yeah. It's right there. So I wonder if, Loretta, if somehow if it's easy enough to put those maybe 2 places to call in the citizen notes. If you see illegal dumping on state land, you can call X. If you see illegal dumping on town land, you can call Y. I don't know. Just to kind of get it into a record somewhere.
Uh-huh.
It's a good idea.
Or maybe even to have it directed to the Conservation Commission and we can
Yeah,
find out.
Do it appropriately, yeah.
Because people are kind of reluctant to call and go into this bureaucratic.
yeah,
thing.
and it sounds like there was a lot of stuff happening about this. Yeah, I think that would be good. Call us. Call Gwen.
This was on a dirt road. This was on a dirt road, so they think no one's going to go down there and look.
Yeah,
Oh, I have a question about, you mentioned Langhammer. I just want to say, I just checked it out the other day, and they did not plow. So if somebody wanted to hike there now or snowshoe, they cannot get to the parking area. It's, all the snow is pushed in that little side road, that little part on the left where, Bill
pushed onto
Davinsky
the
put
parking lot.
sign, the arrow, hiking, park here. You can't park. There's a giant snow wall.
That's where they put the snow.
So I'm just wondering, I went down there to check it out, to report back, because I thought, well, if I want to go out there with my snowshoes, if I park here, these neighbors are going to complain. This neighbor here or that neighbor there. So I don't know what I'm supposed to do to be able to hike there in the winter or snowshoe or ski, cross country ski there.
Maybe we could ask Catherine to have Public Works plow a little bit so that a couple cars could get in, and then you can snowshoe or ski or whatever. So they wouldn't have to plow all the way to the parking lot because that might be too much of an ask. I don't know.
Yeah.
But if they plowed a little way down that road so that you could pull off the road if you
That
want.
would be fantastic. Even if just one car, because probably not too many people use it, but it would be nice to have someplace, because if don't, people are going to start complaining. I can just see where they would park. And then those neighbors are going to be calling and bothering the people in town. And then they're going to come after us and say, look at the trouble you caused us.
Right, because I think there's already been, in the beginning, when we first wanted to put the trail there was a lot of agitation. People were a little concerned about what's going to happen. And then I think somebody parked right in front of somebody's driveway, and that created a whole hullabaloo. So, yeah, I think I'll check.
I'm friends with that woman. I know her, and she's widowed, and she does get nervous because she doesn't know whose car it is.
Well, that's understandable. I mean, she's, all at the end of this very long kind of semi-deserted road. So
Yeah.
I get it. I can understand her concern.
Yeah.
And for the most part, all of the people who lived around that area saw Langhammer as their backyard. So now all of a sudden that it's, public, then, and I think as time goes on and people see that there's not thousands of people going down that road and parking all over wherever. I mean, that only happened a couple of times when we had our opening, and then we did another Walktober time there. Other than that, there's maybe one or two cars, because a lot of times people cross over from Fenton,
Yeah.
or Fenton Ruby. What is it, Gwen? Fenton
Yes, it's
Ruby?
Fenton Ruby, because the water is more important, is the most important thing.
Yeah. So what's the Ruby? Is that who owned the land?
One of the people, yes.
Okay. Yeah.
There was the
So,
Drobny,
yeah.
there was the Drobny family, and there were all different families, and then the Julia Trail came later when another piece came available. And so it's like Langhammer's another piece.
Yeah.
All these different families that donated, or not, they didn't donate, but we got it.
Yeah. So if there was just room for one car, that would be fine in the winter.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll check and see if we can make that happen. And also make a note to put in the January Citizen about illegal dumping and what to do, and give people options and say, if you're uncomfortable doing that, you can just email us and whatever.
And give him Gwen's email.
I've got the whole network now, these really nice people.
Right.
And you know what? These people want to help so bad that if it's out of their jurisdiction in the next county, they would probably.
Sure. They find the right person. Sure.
Yeah.
I love that it's called environmental justice. That's cool.
That is cool.
Yeah.
So I wonder
exactly.
if you could just find it that way.
They would have loved it if I had a license plate. I didn't have that. They wanted to go after someone, but at least they went after cleaning up the trash.
Yeah.
Did you go to the Deep website or you went to the Franklin,
Yes, Franklin. There's different
Franklin
branches.
illegal dumping website?
No, it wasn't, within that, you look, all the subdivisions.
Okay.
Or I
I'll
can go
check
back
on
to the
it.
site and see. It was very, it get listed, contact this person for this problem, that problem, everything under the sun. So you would look at all the different people and what their area was, but then it was like a whole subcommittee, the environmental justice team, and what they did was a subcategory. So I wrote to all different people, not knowing who was even around at that time and who would even care. I didn't really expect that they would jump on this right away. I thought, maybe they'll tell someone, in a few months, but 24-hour cleanup.
That's great.
That's awesome.
Well, it's good to have good stories like that because so often we just have like really negative kinds of stories. So it's good when things happen that way. The other thing that I just wanted to put out because I think is something we can pursue next year. I was talking with Kathy Demers from Willington Conservation Commission, and she mentioned that Quiet Corner, Yale Forest, would maybe consider doing a forest management plan for Langheimer, an update, because it occurs to me that I think when Dan Donahue did that last very thorough forest management, but I think it was in like 1995 or something. I know it was quite a while before we started going, which I think was 2006 or somewhere around there. So I
think it was
that might be
2010.
something that we could contact Mark Ashton and see if he would be willing to have a couple of students go over Dan's plan, which was, I mean, pretty thorough, but it's old right now. I mean, probably more than 20 years old, certainly more than 10 years old for sure. So that was one thing that I thought about. And if anyone knows any of the farmers from the Forest Legacy Program that have not had their land forest management plans made, they can check in at the Quiet Corner and see, because they've done a couple for us already. I think John had Quiet Corner, didn't he? Or did he have Last Green Valley, Christine, for his forest management?
No,
Was
we
it with
did,
Bill?
we did Yale, the Yale forestry students.
Yeah, so I think that that's a good option because the forest management plan is very expensive, very costly.
Yeah, the
So-
Yale forestry students, they only take on a certain number of projects a year, but, and it has to be, I think it has to be a fairly sizable piece of land, and they want pieces, they want sort of forest legacy type pieces.
Right.
That are connected to other pieces or of significant value in other ways.
Right. So I thought that,
great.
we might pursue looking and seeing if Yale Forest could help us out on updating that Langheimer property. Just something to think about.
That
So
sounds great.
does anyone else have any other, the other thing that we sort of have to officially adopt our meeting schedule. So is everyone in favor of our meeting schedule as set up for 2021?
Yep.
Sure.
All right, thank you.
I didn't see it. Are there any changes?
It's the third Monday except on January and February. I sent an email. Did you get the email? And
No, I've been at work the whole time.
Yeah.
I can't look at my emails at work.
It came.
okay, well, you can check your email.
Okay.
It's January and February is the third Wednesday, but the others are the third Monday. Just so that you know that.
Wait, what was that? The third Wednesday? What?
January and February are the third Wednesday of the month because
Okay.
Monday is a holiday. Martin Luther King's in January and President's Day in February.
All right, I think I can do that. I think I can do that. But I may be, late on, would be late on Mondays because of work, because I just got
Okay.
here.
Okay, I just sent to you the portal.connecticut.gov about illegal dumping, who to call if it's town or city or state.
Great,
It's cool. It's one cool site that has everything
good.
and
All
who to
right.
report to. So
Okay, good. Maybe I can just copy that and put it in
yeah,
the
that could go on
Citizen.
the Citizen.
Yeah, great. Does anyone else have any other issues that they want to put out there and think about, or anything that we should be starting to focus on for next year? Okay, so
You know, there was a really good, where did I see the pollinator thing? There was a really good webcast about pollinators.
well, Joshua's Trust did a program, and I think
Right, that's what it was. Yeah.
the video is available and you can watch it. The woman who did it she's down along the shore.
Yeah, that was really good.
Norfolk or Norwalk, somewhere or other, and she gives a good presentation about that. But I think Joshua's Trust might be doing a little bit more things
Where was the one? That one
come the springtime. So, and hopefully we can do a program, either a Zoom program or in person or something, that hopefully we can do something like that for the spring, or maybe even do it in conjunction with Joshua's Trust. I can check.
Yeah, because like Zoom works fine for that kind of lecture thing.
Mhm.
Really, it works fine. Maybe
Yeah.
even better than in person.
Yeah, the problem with Zoom is, as I understand it, is that the town has to pay for the Zoom meetings.
Oh,
So, that's another issue that could or
not
could
very,
not.
not very expensive.
It's free up to 45
But I
minutes.
think we could also,
40 minutes.
like Gwen says, we could also just do a 40-minute
Right.
presentation.
Yep.
Or maybe even if we did it in conjunction with Joshua's Trust, they might have.
I'm sure they have a pro account. I mean, pro account is not that expensive as I remember.
It's not
but-
that expensive. Someone said you can do it by the month, and it's really,
Yeah, really. It's not that big a deal, but
Okay.
it
All
might
right.
be like $15 or something.
yeah.
But if you do 45-minute segments and then
Yeah.
you end it, and then you do another one, that's what families do when they're doing
That's what
reunions.
I do for my writing group. Yeah, I just set up 3 at a time, one after another, and one ends and we go to the next, then we go to the next. It works just fine.
Okay. All right. Well, see, I think the thing with the town stuff is you've got to have a phone call in case somebody.
Oh, for access.
Yeah.
equity.
Yeah. So I think that makes it different for any sort of town meeting. Maybe that wouldn't be true with other things, but I know, and there are a couple of people who always call in. I think Janet on planning and zoning, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, and the same with Board of Finance. I think there's 2 people on the Board of Finance who don't have computers,
yeah,
so they just call in. So that's the difference.
right.
Well, okay, so that sort of wraps it up for the year. I just wanted to get this meeting in because we've only had a couple of meetings this year because of COVID, and hopefully things will change around come the new year. And hope everyone has happy holidays in spite of everything. Just remember to stay safe, social distance,
Don't
Wear
have
your
ladies groups.
Wear a mask.
wear a mask. Right.
Thank you, Loretta, for being our leader.
Oh,
Yes.
thank you, Janet.
Fearless and
Fearless, yes.
Well, thank you, Janet, for just letting us all know what was happening with planning and zoning. That's
Yeah, really.
it really helps to keep abreast of things because it's easy for things to slip through, and I think that property up there is really special. And like you say, Christine, it's certainly down stream of everything, but there's a combination of things there. So It's important that something come in. Now, the other thing that I was thinking about also is, we have all these buildings in other sections of the town where no businesses
Yeah.
are coming in. I mean,
Right.
it's really a hard time for a business kind of thing. So this is
Well,
going to be.
I know economic development has really worked hard to try and get people into the empty buildings.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, so that mainline stove place, that's zone commercial on that side too, right?
Yes.
But it's not, it's not industrial. So there's a special industrial
Yeah, no,
zone.
I understand,
Yeah.
but that other side is zone commercial. So, if that property in question were made industrial, and as the attorney kept saying, activity begets activity, that whole area would turn into crap. And then that is on the Mount Hope watershed.
Well, it is
Other
rather
stores.
limited in terms of development because there are a lot of wetlands around there, and there's the state forest and everything. So there are a lot of natural protections that are there. And yes, he's going to talk about what can happen and all that, and that's his job to do that. And I think it really is important for us as a commission to look at how do we work with the economic development people and not in opposition to. It's easy to say, well, we don't want this, but I think what we have to do as a town is to really work together and come up with maybe creative businesses that add to the economic vitality of the town, but do not disrupt some of our really vital resources that not only serve us but serve other people downstream. I mean, all of Ashford is in a watershed, so
Right. We
I
are
mean,
a
we
watershed.
critical.
We are the watershed for Willimantic.
Right, exactly. So I think
No,
it's.
but there's so much that could, a restaurant. There are no restaurants on that stretch of 84 anywhere, there are no places to stop and eat. There are no places to stop and rest, there's a rest stop, but it doesn't have anything. But there are no restaurants. It would be great to have a restaurant there. Yeah, that's not going to make him any money, but man, that would be cool. There are things that would be cool there.
Well, you'd rather have a bakery or, something like that than something that's going to have big trucks coming in and
Right.
out.
Or a conglomerate of things, a restaurant, a bakery, a, rib house. I don't know. Someplace that could be a nice place for families to go eat out. Like, the bookshop restaurant up
Yes,
by the border.
Travelers in Union, yes.
Right.
Yeah.
That's it's funky, but something like that would be really cool. But you have to attract it, and it won't make that guy any money, which is part of the problem.
Right.
So I missed the first part of the meeting. What was the next step that we could take? Is there a meeting that we're supposed to go to?
Just be careful and watch. And as Loretta said, work in conjunction with them. Well, I don't know, yeah, I hear that.
I think that's important to do. And I think it's important when I was thinking about this after the planning and zoning meeting. I think it's important for us to be aware that some of the things that how we say things is really important. And part of our job is to educate. So I think we need to be really professional when we present things, which is, I think, one of the reasons why it was so helpful to have Jean's statement, because she didn't say, I hate this. She was saying, here are the facts. We signed this agreement. This is what we're doing. This is the way water works. This is the way soil works. This is the way wetlands works. This is the way septic systems work and all that. And so just presented that and said, this is what you need to be aware of. And I think we can use those opportunities at planning and zoning to be educators for other people. You know, when I first got on the Conservation Commission, this one guy came up to me, it was maybe the second year or something, and said that he never thought about trees. He lived in Ashford, there's always an abundance of trees, but he had sold a piece of his land and they put up several houses. And he said, if I had known that was going to happen, I wouldn't have sold the land.
Hmm.
You know, and I think those are the kinds of things that educating our landowners and our residents about how we work in conjunction with each other. And yeah, okay, we want to bring business in. What kind of businesses do we want to bring in? And then how do we help those businesses survive? You know, we've had so many businesses come and go in Ashford.
Yeah.
You know, and even on a road 74, which has a lot of traffic. It's not like it doesn't have a lot of traffic. Look at the businesses that have come and gone there.
Yep.
You know, and people say, well, some of those people, you know, didn't have good business sense. But I think how do we support our businesses when they do come in is important. You know, the grocery store that was there, you know, for instance, you know, there were people trying, so.
I think it behooves us to do our homework because we have the knowledge of the conservation piece, but in order to really give people options, and we want to give people options because we do want the town to be a viable, allow for viable businesses. And so, you know, maybe we need to do some scouting around and looking on the internet for what kinds of things can we offer that could be on the land that is available for business opportunities in our town. And I think that might stir some interest from the business folks because I know that they're looking around, but obviously there have been some communities that do that better than other communities. And it would be good for us to find those and see if we can, I mean, no point in reinventing the wheel, but try to see how we can make a fit here in Ashford.
Right.
Because that gets you over the oppositional hump that people look at us and say, oh, well, they just don't want this. And it's like, no, we want the town to be viable, but we want to do it in a way that serves the entire town.
Right.
So can you think of any towns that you think did a good job?
Well, I mean, I can't. That's why for me, I would
I'm
have
sort
to
of
do a
in my
bunch of
head, I
homework.
sort of can, but I can't pinpoint them.
So, I mean, I'd have to really look around and look on the internet
Yeah.
and see, and it wouldn't have to be just in Connecticut. I mean, you could look
Right.
Putnam
anywhere
did-
and see what people have done.
Putnam did an industrial park
On Kennedy Drive,
a few years ago.
on Kennedy Drive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That they
That's-
thought was quite successful. I don't know about other towns, but I'm sure there's other examples.
Well, it's interesting also when you go on 44, that right where you come to the junction of 198, there's that little sign with the businesses in Eastford.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's right there, and it's like, whoa, look at all that, you know, and stuff like that is really important, I think, in terms of people seeing, oh, you know, oh, maybe we can go to the orchard, or, you know, oh, there's a car place down there, or whatever, stuff like that. So I think some of it is also visibility, and how does that happen?
Right. Well, I'm
And
still grieving.
then you turn onto that road and go to Eastford and you go, where is it?
I'm still grieving over the loss of
Well, there's
coriander.
sort of false advertising,
Yeah,
but
really. It is a bit.
There's a car dealer, there's a.
There's a
hardware
car dealer and there's a defunct
Lumberyard.
restaurant and there's a
Yeah.
lumberyard, right?
The
Well,
coriander
you know,
smells-
some of the things happened. I mean, Coriander certainly was a thriving restaurant
It
until
was.
COVID
Was.
hit.
It
You
was.
know, as a lot of things
until it
were.
wasn't.
Until it was.
Right, so all of that does happen, but I think it's, you know, even like on 44, that in Pomfret there, they have a couple of those, restaurants along the road, or not, one of them is a spirit place, what do you?
Pomfret?
Yeah,
The beer place?
it's not beer, it's,
Yeah.
it's
Oh,
hard,
it's a
hard
distillery.
liquor, spirits.
It's a distillery, yeah.
Distillery?
Right?
Yeah, it's right across from the
It's at the
airline.
old estate, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, so. But the Dairy Bar has done very, very well
Oh,
this
yeah.
year.
Yep,
Every time I went by there, it was totally packed, so.
Yep. Yep.
You know, and see, again, that's, you know, the type of business that will get supported in Ashford, and maybe that's the thing to look at.
and Midway does really well, even though their pizza sucks now, but
It's not
But
that
they
bad.
always-
We
they,
just,
And there could be something to kind of riff off the distillery here. You know, the little distillery. I mean,
oh,
The
Maybe-
Westford Hills,
on Westford Hill?
Yeah,
the Chadies.
Hmm.
You know, Loretta, the thing that I tried to read the stuff from Jean Pillow, and the problem is it's not really readable. And I think it needs to be translated into real human talk. And that's, I don't know, maybe that's something somebody could do better. You know what I
well,
mean?
the recommendations at the end were pretty, I thought they were pretty straightforward, and.
Well,
you
then
know,
maybe that
clearly-
needs to be in the beginning. You know, I mean, you get sort of totally bogged down in all the details and technical talk, and then you just stop. And I'm even a scientist, and I just stop.
Well, you were just tired, Christine.
No,
because
it wasn't
You had
that.
done too many Zoom meetings that day.
No, it wasn't that. It was that, you know.
Well, I have a short attention span and I managed to get through it. But,
Did you?
but I know what you mean. It was very technical. It
yeah,
was very
was.
thorough, which impressed me, but it
Right.
was very technical and you have to pay attention.
Which you
and
need,
someone-
but you need a single page preface that puts it into real human language.
Or you need the, you know, the summary.
Right,
The
exactly.
little,
Which is what most people will read.
right.
So you need to have that done well, but you need that. That's an important piece because otherwise.
Did you get that today? Did this come today, Christine?
No, it was last week. It was
Oh, I'm gonna
before
have
the
to
planning and
look for it.
zoning. It was for the planning and zoning meeting.
Oh,
Loretta sent it around.
I sent it around to everybody before the meeting.
Yep.
I think everybody got it, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna look for it. I probably it got buried in probably hundreds of emails, and I'm gonna go look for it.
I got rid of it.
Yeah, you'd be interested in it, Gwen.
It's
Yeah.
also included in the planning and zoning materials. So
Yeah.
once you can find where that stuff is.
Yeah.
Once you can unbury it.
Well, I think I'm really glad that it worked out, and I will send Jean a note saying that it, you know, thanking her for her work and that it was voted down, just so that she knows and is kept up to breast and will help us out in the future. I think if it were something really complicated, again, we could ask her to attend a hearing.
Yeah.
And just spend, particularly if it's a Zoom kind of thing, it doesn't take too much time, and we could put her on at a specific time so that she would know and be there and give her piece and then not have to stay for a whole long time so that she wouldn't have to make such a commitment. But anyway, I mean, that's something to think about in the future.
Steve is connecting.
Steve is here.
Hi, Steve.
Hi,
Can you
Steve.
hear me?
Yeah. Can hear
Oh, I
you.
don't
Yes,
see
can you hear
Steve,
me?
he's not on my screen. Oh, hi, Steve.
Hello?
Yeah, we hear you,
Hello,
but no
we don't
video.
see you,
No,
but-
we don't see you.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I
Are
totally
you out in the
forgot about
field still?
I got busy doing stuff. Um, yeah, sorry. I do have something to report, but keep going and I'll wait
Well,
for
we
an
were
invitation.
finished, so go ahead.
Go ahead. We were just talking about the planning and zoning thing and giving our critiques of everything. So you can step right in with what you have to report.
Okay. Um, so what I was going to say is that I didn't finish marking the trail, as you may know. Still have that one half section, the upper section to do. I have the paint, I have all the, everything needed. The other thing is Robert Beach, who's with
Uh-huh. Joshua's Trust, yeah.
Joshua's Trust. He's proposed putting a plaque up, or making a plaque of the Ashford oak. I don't know if anybody else has heard about this, but he and I had talked a little bit about that at one point. He had some trouble figuring out who could make a plaque, and my initial thoughts were that it would be expensive. It might be something that would be stolen from the site. If it was a nice thing, a nice picture of the Ashford oak engraved on metal. And I envisioned something small, like we had for the maps over at
Right.
yeah. Anyway, recently he came back with an idea, basically like a 24 by 19 size plaque. And he had a design, he had a design for it that he ran by me. But he was going to try to contact someone about that. He did contact someone. There was no price discussed. I can't even imagine how much a 19 by 24 plaque would cost.
Is that inches? Inches or feet?
Yeah, no kidding. Even in inches, that's pretty darn big.
That's
Yeah,
basically-
I know.
And it looked like a pretty detailed. He had a photograph that would need some work, but it's pretty detailed and kind of elaborate. So I would imagine that whoever did it would charge a pretty penny for it.
Well,
he
Mark Drobny might do an inside price for us.
what's that, Glenn?
Mark Drobny, who does the engraving, he did the maps for us. He might do it for nonprofit.
That's I believe that's who it was actually. Anyway, maybe he does things for nothing or nearly so. But it could be. It turns out to be something that's doable. But then the question is, where would it be displayed? I don't think it should be displayed at the site because, again, I'm concerned that it would get lifted. Maybe the town hall, but then, Joshua's Trust is paying for half of it. I would think that they might want it somewhere where their members could see it, or maybe the Ashford Library. I don't really know, but I'll talk to Robert more about that. I just wanted to give you guys a heads up about it. And I actually wasn't that pleased with the photograph he was planning to use because it sort of chopped off the parts of the tree. The tree was, its outer branches were trimmed, but, maybe we can rectify that somehow with another photo.
Are there still big chunks of the part that's on the ground left?
Yeah,
I just had a thought. I wonder if there is some big chunk that could be stood on end and a plaque inserted into it so that it couldn't be stolen. You know what I mean?
that might be a possibility. Yeah.
Because I keep thinking, okay, freestanding, how would you anchor it? And they have to be such a big deal to anchor it so it couldn't be stolen. But if it could be inserted into a piece of the tree,
But that would eventually rot away.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, it's sitting there.
yeah, in 20 years it would rot away. Well, in 20 years we do something else, I won't be alive, but that's okay,
I don't know if it would be 20 years. I think it might be a lot sooner than that.
I
Yeah.
think so
I
too.
don't know. Oak's pretty tough. If it were leaned forward a little so water didn't go directly in, I don't know. Seal the top, whatever.
Well, that's a thought. We could talk about it. Well,
Like
I'm not sure
selecting-
what Rob wants to do either. So
Was Rob at all concerned, Steve, about it being stolen or vandalized? Because that's
Yeah.
there's not a lot of traffic on that road. It's a pretty isolated area.
right, it'd be easy to steal if somebody
Yeah.
wanted to do it.
Yeah.
You know, I've yet to talk to him. I only got the proposal in the last couple of days, so
Okay.
I need to talk some more about it. And I was kind of waiting to hear to see a response from the artist too. So, and I haven't seen one. So,
Yeah, I think it depends also on how costly this would be. But I think it is problematic since it's, the town and Joshua's Trust in terms of where could you put it, it seems like it would have to go there on the property.
right.
I think so, yeah.
Well, it could be. I mean, oh, sorry.
It could also be a plaque embedded in a cement post on the ground.
But at one point, Joshua's Trust
Like a
didn't want to
grave.
encourage people to go on there and have have parts of the tree fall on them. So it might encourage people to get closer to inspect this old tree. So you just got to think of everything.
Yeah, and I think a concrete post wouldn't be very attractive for the site either. But
I just thought maybe just a small sign at the site. And then if they want to do a plaque, maybe we could hang it in our town office building.
right.
That
Yeah,
sounds
and
good.
Rob didn't respond to, I suggested the library, Ashford town offices, and he had no response to that. So again, he and I have to talk more as I wanted to wait until we got some kind of pricing
Yeah.
and before even discussing it, because it occurred to me that it might be so outrageously expensive that, that would squash that idea entirely. So, but we'll see. Just a heads up, I wouldn't expect it to get done for a little while, but
Maybe we could get it done inexpensively enough that we could pay for it and decide where it goes.
I
well,
think we could, because Mark Drobny, isn't he with the Wellington Conservation Commission? And he knows that we only have a small amount of money. We have less than Wellington has probably I know in our open space purchasing that Wellington has way more than we have.
Yeah.
He would want to honor this tree. I think he would want to give us a break in price.
Well,
Sure.
it seems like that the size of that is a little daunting.
Yes.
You know, I think doing something like the size of what he did for us in Langhammer would seem to make a little bit more sense.
Right.
Mhm.
So, I mean, that might be something that you could talk to him about. That it seems like for that small piece of land to have a sign or any sort of plaque, whatever you want to say, that big seems like it's broadcasting, come take me.
Yeah.
That's the way I,
Yeah.
That's my
know.
thought too. But again, he didn't respond to when I asked him, where would you envision this being displayed? And I mentioned the town hall, I mentioned the library, and what are your ideas? And he didn't respond. So again, it's still in the development stage here, but
Yeah, yeah.
Does anyone know that stone that has some stuff on it for the old Connecticut path on 89?
Yes. Yes, I know. I've seen
So
it.
that's a big giant stone with some inscriptions on it. Nobody's going to take that. I mean, it's a big giant stone and it's got inscriptions engraved in about, so-and-so pastor traveled on this, 3 different things. I mean, maybe that would work. It wouldn't be a pretty picture, but it could at least be lettering and some, quick description.
Yeah.
I
Great.
Have you
think
ever
the
seen
thinking
that,
behind
Steve?
this, Christine, is to have a picture because to say giant oak at this piece that doesn't look giant, it barely looks
Yeah, I
oak
know.
now. So I think the idea was to showcase
I
what it
know.
was in its peak. So that was why to make some sort of etching picture, whatever, to sort of remind people of the beauty and magnificence of this tree.
Well, if there were some kind of stone cutter around, I don't know if there is. I wonder who did that engraving on that stone. It's been there a long time. Never mind.
His stone carver's dead. He's probably did a lot of the memorial.
Probably the people who took the path.
Well, it's pretty cool. I found that.
It is.
It's an amazing thing.
It is. Yeah, you pull over and you can take photograph of it.
Yeah, but the Connecticut path is amazing. And I'll send you a link to this thing, Crossing the Great Wall of Westford. And it's pretty amazing.
Oh, wow.
There's a YouTube that you have to watch. I'll send you the link. It's really, really cool.
Good.
I think I've seen it. Yeah. When it came
But
out.
anyway,
So Steve,
yeah,
do you need to get reimbursed for supplies for the painting and all that?
probably, but it wasn't that expensive, so
Well, you can, just
Okay.
send me it and I can send it on to Cheryl and you can get reimbursed
Okay.
for it.
yeah, I may have taken a picture of the receipt so that, or it may be sitting on my desk, lost somewhere.
well, it sounds like you're not going to starve this week anyway.
No, I don't think so. Did Christine tell you about the 800
conjunction,
year
yes.
The
event?
conjunction.
Yeah, the conjunction, right.
So
Yeah.
I saw a picture, Steve. I found a picture on that looks sort of like what we saw through your scope, and in that, it was a little Saturn was a little less funny, and it's on its side, so I can see where the rings would have been that you saw that I couldn't.
Oh, good.
But otherwise, it looked exactly like what was in your scope. It's cool.
Oh, great. Good. Well, okay, so I guess that about wraps it up. I appreciate everybody coming during this busy time and hanging in there during these times of trials and tribulations and jubilations. Hopefully we have that too. After all, it is a season to be joyful, right?
Right. That's right.
Right.
So they say.
Smaller
All right.
amounts of joy.
Yeah, really.
Oh, they say.
Okay, so we'll see you all next year. And Steve, I think I sent out the schedule for 2021. And so in January, we won't be meeting on the Monday, third Monday. It will be the third Wednesday because of the holiday.
Okay, yeah, and
Okay.
I saw meeting rooms, but clearly that won't be happening.
Right, I'm sure that won't be happening. I'm sure
Yeah.
we'll be Zooming if nothing else, or maybe we won't even have the meeting. So have a good holiday, whatever you celebrate, and enjoy yourselves as best you can. And we'll see you next year.
Don't go to any parties.
Right.
Only
You can
Zoom,
go to Zoom
only
parties.
Zoom party.
Jim and I
Yeah.
were
No
at
in person.
a Christmas caroling party where we sang several songs, so.